Did Vitali Klitschko duck taller opponents? Now, this sounds ridiculous to anybody, then good. But a lot of people have brought this up. I remember first discussing this about 18 months ago in one of the Klitschko official videos, and there was quite a lot of people actually bringing this up, saying Vitali just liked fighting smaller opponents and he ducked anybody that was taller than him. Now, if you're 6'7", there's not many guys that are good above 6'7". I mean, anyone should have the sense to see that. I mean, how many good opponents over 6'7" was there in the 90s? Some people might say Michael Grant, but he was 6'7". What about the 80s? None. 70s? None. 60s? None. Keep going as far back as you want. There was no good fighters above 6'7", so anyone should just see how ridiculous this is right from the very start. But people do say it. People are foolish enough to say that. So first off, has Vitali Klitschko fought anyone taller than him? And actually, yes, he fought Timo Hoffman, 6'7.5", just slightly taller than him, but taller than him. Longer reach than Vitali Klitschko as well, 253 pounds. So again, outweighed Vitali Klitschko. And he had a 22-0 record, so he was undefeated, and they were fighting for the European Championship at the time, just after the Chris Bird fight. So he has fought a taller opponent than him. So who exactly are these opponents that people are accusing Vitali Klitschko of ducking? One of them is Nikolai Valuev, one of them is Tyson Fury, and the other one is Robert Helenius. And Robert Helenius is 6'6.5", so he's not exactly taller than him, but that's one of the people that they use as an example. So anyway, this is a quote from boxingnews.com, published in March 2010, and they're reporting on Vitali Klitschko offering Nikolai Valuev a fight. So I'll give you the quote. Nikolai Valuev turned down an offer of 2.5 million for a fight. The two sides have been in negotiations for several weeks. The offer began at 1 million and then went up to 2 million and ended at $2.5 million. Valuev's side then made a demand for $4 million. Vitali quoted, Valuev is chicken. We gave him the biggest financial proposal of his career, 2.5 million, and he said no. So just to put any doubts about this at bay, they had an interview with Nikolai Valuev on March this year, and they asked him about this fight and why he never fought Vitali Klitschko. So here's a quote from Nikolai Valuev. We had a face-to-face talk. It was in St. Petersburg. In the event of my victory, I had to fight Vitali again, and I was alright with that. But if I won again, then I had to still fight his brother. I had to fight until I eventually lost. Now, this is Nikolai Valuev admitting that the fight was offered to him and admitting that it was turned down. Now, he's came up with an excuse why he turned it down, but this contract that he's talking about was a standard contract everyone had to sign when they're facing the Klitschkos. Same contract that Tyson Fury had to sign when he beat Wladimir Klitschko just last year. So now we move on to Tyson Fury. And people were saying Tyson Fury was a rising guy at the time of Vitali Klitschko, the end of Vitali Klitschko's career. And some people even say, this is a recent one I've heard, that Tyson Fury was the #1 mandatory to Vitali Klitschko, and the reason why Vitali Klitschko retired was to duck his mandatory, which was Tyson Fury. Now, anyone that knows anything about this knows Vitali Klitschko retired because of his political career. He'd been trying to be a politician for years before he retired. He was doing boxing pretty much part-time. And eventually he became the mayor of Kiev, and then he gave up his boxing career because he had to devote all this time pretty much to being a politician. So let's say if there's any truth to Tyson Fury being the #1 mandatory. Let's look through the WBC rankings and go back to 2009. WBC rankings in 2009, Tyson Fury is not ranked. 2010, Tyson Fury is not ranked. 2011, 21 in the world by a WBC. 2012, 4th in the world by a WBC. And 2013, which was the last year of Vitali Klitschko's reign, he officially retired in the end of 2013. Tyson Fury was ranked 6th in the world by a WBC. So no, Tyson Fury was never the #1 mandatory to Vitali Klitschko. Vitali Klitschko never docked Tyson Fury because he was a #1 mandatory. He docked it because he wanted to be a politician, and he'd been trying to do it for many years before then. So anyway, let's look at a quote from Tyson Fury, and this was in August 2012. This is just before the Kevin Johnson fight, and it's on YouTube. You can look for it yourself if you don't believe me. And the interview is called "Interview with Tyson Fury on his career and becoming heavyweight champion." That's what the title of the video is called. So Tyson Fury, this is a quote from him in this video. You'll find it halfway through the video if you want to try and find it. It's a 45-minute long interview. It's about 22.5 to 25 minutes in. So this is what Fury says. "It could have been my fight," talking about when Chisora fought Vitali Klitschko, "if I wanted it. Both Klitschkos said, whoever wins out of the Fury versus Chisora fight, we want to fight the winner. So they contacted us and said, well done on winning, blah blah blah. You can fight us in Germany under our terms and under the Klitschko banner." "No chance," Tyson Fury says. "I was not ready. I can get a world title shot in the morning. It's not about getting a world title shot for me. I want to go there and win a world title. I don't want to make up numbers or put on a good fight." So that's Tyson Fury admitting that they were offered a fight with both Wladimir and Tyson Fury at the time, and he turned it down. So it's not the case of Tyson Fury, Vitali Klitschko ducking Tyson Fury at all. They offered him the fight, and they offered Nikolai Valuev the fight as well. Both turned down. Now, just to add a few more things to the Tyson Fury part, I'm sure everyone that's watched a lot of Tyson Fury's interviews, and I've watched pretty much them all on YouTube anyway, and I read any information I possibly can as well. Now, during the Steve Cunningham fight, Tyson Fury calls Vitali a pensioner. What's the point of fighting him? He's old. He also calls him an old man repeatedly during other press conferences and in other interviews. Effectively, why do they want to fight that old man? You know, it's kind of an excuse in a way, isn't it? It's kind of putting up a barrier for having that fight, and he was offered the fight anyway. So that's just another thing to note. And now we get on to Robert Helenius. What a lot of people need to remember is a lot of the promoters at the time when the Klitschkos were reigning, they didn't want to throw your young prospects in with Klitschkos. I mean, you can see that here with Nikolai Valuev, even though Valuev was a seasoned fighter, and Tyson Fury, because the Klitschkos at that time were just destroying their opponents. I mean, they weren't just winning the fights. In most of the fights, they were winning every single minute of every single round. I mean, one of the few exceptions I can think of during that time was when Wladimir Klitschko fought David Haye, and David Haye won a few rounds off him. You know, it didn't make much sense for people to have their young prospects like Tyson Fury and Robert Helenius and then throwing them in there just to get battered. That's why a lot of these... It's not the case of Vitali Klitschko dodging these fighters. It's the other way around. It's Vitali's wanting to fight these guys. He's wanting to fight the best guys around at the time. But they just don't want to fight him. But people are looking at it just the wrong way around, the opposite way around. So with Robert Helenius, despite the fact he's not over 6'7", as a lot of people believe, let's look at the guys he was fighting around about the time at the end of Vitali Klitschko's career, when they're saying Vitali Klitschko was ducking Robert Helenius. He fought Derek Chisora. Derek Chisora, to a lot of people, maybe even most people watching that fight, thought Derek Chisora beat Robert Helenius and he was robbed. But then after that, he fights Sherman Williams and Michael Sprott. Now, are these opponents that are really showing the confidence the promoter has in Robert Helenius? I mean, seriously, if you're going to throw Robert Helenius in with Vitali Klitschko, are these the kind of opponents that you're going to have him working on before the Vitali Klitschko fight? No. I mean, these guys right now are borderline in the top 100 or outside the top 100 now. They're not the kind of opponents that you'd use to warm up for that kind of fight. They're not even tall fighters. So it more likely looks like Robert Helenius or his promoter was ducking the fight with Vitali Klitschko. They wouldn't want to fight Vitali Klitschko. They might even have been offered, I'm not saying they were, but maybe they even offered a fight with Vitali Klitschko. But by looking at who was fighting at the time, it doesn't look like they would be serious in a fight with Vitali Klitschko at that time. So I just wanted to put that myth at rest finally. I think I've added about everything.